Okay, this is your second programming challenge. You've been given some worksheets to work on strings and inputs, and whatever you've been putting in here, you've been doing in a console, hopefully. So a console is an area where you've got arrow at the top that will allow you to actually type in a command and see what happens immediately. So you should already be doing things like print. So the first variable name, was name equals Bilbo. Now one thing I have noticed is when you get errors, quite a lot of people are not paying attention to the error. So I'm going to create an error here. I've got an error. Now the command here didn't imply there was going to be an error anywhere. So maybe look at it a bit closer and say what's happening. And this is saying indentation error. And if you look closely, I've got an extra space in front, and spaces are important in Python. So if you get a problem like that, go and have a look. See, did you type the command in before properly? See, name equals Bilbo should work. Okay. You then get some printouts. Now, what we've done by doing that, which was explained in the session, was we've created a piece of memory that we've called name, and then said put into that, that's what equals means, put into the memory the word Bilbo. So when I do a print, if I do print with quotes name, what you'll find is you'll get exactly those letters out. If you don't put the quotes on, it says, right, is this a command I know? No. If it's not a command it knows, it goes and has a look and says, have you told me to give some memory a name? So it looked at the name, it said that name contains Bilbo. Oh right, you must want me to print out the contents of the variable name. So it takes that text, puts it in, and says print Bilbo, and that's why we've got the Bilbo command. A bit further down you get some things called concatenation. Some people might get some errors in a few lessons time because of that. Adding strings together must be strings, one after another. It's not a major problem. The second part of that lesson was about creating variables. Now, some people haven't been following the instructions. They just looked at that, typed it in, nothing happened. It's because you didn't follow the instructions above. The instructions said, set a variable to using the computer's name or the computer user. So set the person using the computer's name to Gandalf. So it's up to you what you call that variable, but you need to write a command after it. And this was an example. Poor example is n, because it's not well defined. Name, is that the name of a person, is the name of a computer? It's okay. And a good name would be something like user's name. So you could type in user's name equals quote Gandalf. Now, one thing I have picked up is it is quite clear that people haven't been looking at the videos that go with that exercise, because they clearly haven't looked at me doing some similar exercises like I have now. So we've got user's name is Gandalf, print user's name, and we get Gandalf out. So that can go into my screenshot, or should have been in my screenshot. Copy that, put it into there, that's my screenshot for this lesson. Make sure we're trying the work that's been set, and you work your way through the whole program. The last part is some code here, and I've got a feeling there was an error in here somewhere. You've got a number of sets of tasks here. There are different ways of getting information from a user and displaying them. You don't have to have done add typed all the time, so you can do this comma version as well of printing. But we'll talk more about that in the next section when we're doing number stuff. So you've got a task now of creating a program that will ask for two things. So to do a program, we need to go back out to Files, go into your Python directory, and give yourself a new file name, which is an exercise on input. Create the file. And you're now going to be creating programs, so that follow the guidelines above. Variable names need to be meaningful. You should give comments. So this program is, according to that one, this is about registering somebody for a journey. So this is registration. Good comment. Try and find where my hash has gone to. Put your name in there as well. There are the first two comments. And then you want to get the input from the user. So I will create a comment saying, get user info. It's an input section. First thing I want is their forename. No, I'm not going to do the whole thing for you. I'm going to do a hello world one. So username equals input. What is your username? Remember, input should always have some text inside it to let the user know what's happening. Now I've got all the information for what I'm doing. Processing. And there is a suggestion here of using something a bit further down for one of these later ones to use some advanced commands. So I'm going to use one of these helpers as my process. So process, username is username. So this doesn't say username is just the same thing. This says do the thing on the right and store it back where I had username. And what I can use is a special name called upper. The dot says do upper to username. And then it says output. You're welcome. So we print welcome to a person. And this is the sort of simple program you should be aiming to produce. Make sure the comments are your own, make sure the variable name's your own. I've got console. Let's go and kill some consoles and then come back. Go back to the dashboard. And in my files, I've got this input file. Now when I run the file, what's my name is Bilbo. And the program runs, and notice it's changed what Bilbo is this time. Okay, it was something to do with what I put in the processing. You need to find out about these commands, and if you use them, we're looking towards the better grades.